First, starting with our spotlight subject, we're living in a time when kids scroll more than they blink and classrooms sound like ringtone factories. India is now part of a global debate over whether smartphones even belong in schools. Half of Indian parents want them banned outright. A third want limited use just for study. The rest think phones are harmless. Across the world, educators are saying the same thing. Smartphones are breaking focus. They're fueling anxiety and turning teachers into screen police. But the screen problem doesn't end at the classroom door. A University of Michigan study says 1 in 10 kids don't play outdoors even once a week. Parents say it is safer indoors, safer from strangers, from bruises, from real life and perhaps pollution in the case of some of these cities. Doctors warn that outdoor play builds focus, coordination and confidence, skills you don't get through a screen. And now there is a worrying new layer. Recent studies show a growing link between high screen time and ADHD symptoms in children. Researchers say too much screen exposure disrupts sleep, attention, emotional control too. Pediatricians report the same pattern: more impulsivity, less movement and fatigue disguised as laziness. Parents are caught in the middle. They hand kids screens for safety, then worry about what those screens are actually doing to their minds and to their bodies. So let's take that conversation forward. First, I do want to go across to Mansi Zaveri. She is a parenting coach and founder of Kids Top Press. She joins us this morning. Alongside her, joining us is educationist Shobha Bagai. Good morning to both you ladies. Thank you so much for taking out the time. Mansi, I want to begin with you, since you must be interacting with a lot of parents on an everyday basis. How frequent is this one complaint of my child not being able to move away from their gadgets?
Thank you so much. Yes, it is a persistent, ongoing conversation that I am listening to every single day, whether it's on the Kids Top Press Instagram page, where we're flooded with DMs on screen time addiction, or whether it is on our YouTube channel or in the offline workshops that I take, so much so that we had to finally break this down into a course and a module on our website, because I think what parents are doing is, like medicines, we're treating this symptomatically, right? We're saying, okay, what is it that we should do? We're not taking a step back and say, why are screens such a big addiction? There is a reason, there's a reason, pattern and behavior that is being backward integrated to design each one of these apps. And, I'd love to actually share more about, and I'm sure later through the course of this interview I will, which is on the most critical time for a parent who's handing over that device to their child. What are some of the do's and don'ts? How can parents battle that? And that the do's and don'ts, when that moment when we actually hand over the phone to our child, is what I call the golden hour of handing over a device, golden hour of screen time, where you decide the boundaries, you decide which device, you decide what goes on that device. Not every device that is handed over needs to be a smartphone. In case it is a smartphone, what are the apps? How should you set up that phone? All of these, and how do you even monitor that phone, right? I think there is so much more. I think we've just made it so easy by blaming it on our children. Bahar jaake nahi khel rahe ho, you're not going out and playing, you're constantly distracted. We are like one-way communication without understanding that we are the ones to blame. We cannot, they're all under 18. What are you going to blame on them?
And for those, who, let's say, in higher education, they're pursuing higher studies, they're, let's say, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, a lot of them now do need gadgets. And post-COVID, that phenomena has heightened even further. Before I go across to Shobha ji, Mansi, quickly tell us what your take on digital gadgets, phones, tablets, all of this being available in schools. Do you think that also furthers the whole problem of how parents are having to cope with this back home?
So let's understand that it is like how we were growing up with Google. These kids are growing up with devices, right? It's a non-negotiable, because they're now on a global playground. Today, look at the participation, look at the activities that they're doing, right? Just to give you a very small instance, my daughter's participating in a debate tournament, and her friend is from her her counterpart is from Delhi. She's participating in a debate which is based out of the US. How is this playground going to be possible without a device? Right? So I'm absolutely someone who's not against devices by any means. What is very important is how we're using them and how are we drawing boundaries. Schools, very important. And I think I'm so happy with the Indian schools. In our schools, we've never had a problem of take your phones to the classroom. We've always had a policy of leave your phones. At least a large part of the Indian schools, leave your phones or deposit your phones before you enter schools, take your phones when you exit schools. So that is very, very important. And I don't think that taking away the device is the problem. The problem begins when children are using it for regulating themselves. And what I mean by regulating is taking it as a break or a me time or finding comfort and solace when they're sad, finding space in a device to confide or to talk. That is when it becomes a problem. But for studies, it has become a necessary evil, and none of us would have been able to function. Schools are putting in their boundaries. But I think what is most important, and we recently shared this on Kids Talk Press as well, where we posted this feature, this reel, which is on kids are now using Google Docs to bully children. So if you are not going to explain to your child what are boundaries, what are healthy boundaries, what they can do with this powerful tool, if you don't have that connection, then they are going to misuse it. So I would say it is a necessary evil, but the idea is, and I'm completely not of the belief of banning things, because I don't think banning creates any sort of regulation.
That's exactly what the Delhi High Court said. Very recently, the Delhi High Court said that an all-out ban is an impractical move and we're not going to go ahead with it. Let schools individually lay out some of these guidelines.
Absolutely.
Shobha ji, what's your take here? Because a lot of countries have gone ahead with nationwide protocols, and I'm talking about countries like France, China, Italy, Netherlands. They have all imposed a single guideline on schools, and that's how it's being followed. There are others who are adopting a fusion model, as is being recommended in India as well, that each school must decide how it wants to take this challenge forward, how it wants to deal with this, how it wants to instruct parents on what they must do at their end. What's your take, Shobha ji, on this increasing challenge? It's not a challenge that parents alone are facing. Teachers are also in the midst of, whether or not we must let them get exposed to the kind of digital world that's out there, because that also comes with a lot of opportunities, or should there be boundaries set?
So a very good morning to all of you. And I somehow tend to agree with Mansi that a complete ban on any kind of a device in the current generation may not be a very viable or a suitable thing. The reason being, as we are moving ahead, we are going towards globalization. So, when Mansi said that at our time we were, growing up with Google, and I suddenly felt at our time we neither had Google, neither we had internet, neither we had computers. But saying that, I don't think so. I would like to put it up that the current generation should be allowed to grow up the way that we grew up. The conditions, the environment were completely different, but yes, a boundary has to be set. And for that, another takeaway point that I would like to take from what Mansi said is, if you have this survey and you look at the background of the parents, most of these parents are an educated lot.
Yes.
Now, if, they do not set these boundaries, because nowadays, with AI coming into view, you have so many open softwares that are there, which allows on your screen, you can always have that certain apps cannot be opened up, but certain apps can be. Now, that is something that needs to be done. The parents are to be much more educated, in fact. Then, in fact, the children, and laying it completely on the schools, on the teachers, again, I don't think it's a very, a good move. The reason being that, yes, most of the schools that even I am aware of it, they ask them that once when you enter the school premises, the phones are left either with the class teacher or they have a specified person. Now, during that duration, because most of the parents, I think one of the very common things that I have heard is that we need to know that where our child is,
Yeah.
once when they are entering to the school and when they are moving out. Because some of them, they are going with the school buses, some of them, they engage certain private drivers, and they are also very wary about their safety. Yes, that's a good move. But beyond that, in fact, more than the schools, it is the time that a child spends outside a school, where they get this time to look at the various apps, and, there are certain...
But it's a slightly notorious question, Shobhaji, but we've seen through the years, there are so many ways children come up with to just sneak in their phones. There is always a notorious way out. So while...
Children nowadays are smarter, we
Yeah.
need to be smarter than them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
And to just add to
Yeah.
Shobhaji's point, I'd just like to add, we're forgetting a very important and a large segment of India today whose children are taking a public transport, right? Who are maybe taking at least grade, above 16, grade 9, 10, 11, 12. They may be taking Ubers back home or a taxi or something like, or a public transport. And it's so important for that parent to be connected. Like she said, we're not always driving our children in chauffeur-driven cars where there is always connectivity with an external person or a trusted partner or a trusted caretaker
Yeah.
or a caregiver, right? So I think that is such an important reality of India, especially of the working class, that it is not an absolute okay with a ban, because yes, connectivity with our children today is now a safety requirement more than anything else for us.
Okay, lovely. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and now talk about what digital overuse is doing to what the kind of
Yes.
impact it's directly having on outdoor play and what can be done
Yes.
there. And I'll come to the both of you in just a bit. But before that, I do want to go across to actor Saksham Kapoor, who's also with us this morning. He's played a very interesting character in a film, Zindagi Milegi Dobara. It's all about digital addiction and how the need of the hour is to move away from it, to understand so much more lies beneath this digital world that is out there to almost keep seeking your attention on a daily basis. Saksham, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Good morning.
Hi Saksham, let's begin with the character you played in Zindagi Milegi Dobara, and is there a personal story there? How do you relate
All right.
to the character you played? Vyom.
Yeah. So like my character in the film Zindagi Milegi Dobara is every other guy nowadays. Like every other guy is on their phones. Every children is on his or her phone. So it makes it really difficult for the parents to deal with their children like nowadays, because the screen usage is skyrocketing. So I mean, if you ask me about my movie, like my short film, it's based on a similar theme that my character is like indulged into screens, and he's not listening to his parents. He's not living in the real world. He's living in a virtual world. So it's his journey basically, that how he overcomes the fear of talking to a person in real life.
He's lost out on all personal connections. He doesn't know how to forge those connections with real life
Exactly.
people, real life situations. Can I ask you, Saksham, whether you've also recently passed out of school, you're pursuing your education still. Have you changed or noticed any sort of a change in the kind of usage of gadgets that you have seen in your immediate circle or personally the last 5-6 years? Has it peaked in any way?
Absolutely. I mean, people tend to be on their phones every time. Like when I talk about my the personal circle that I have, the one thing that comes into my mind is as soon as people wake up, they just pull their phones. They
What you
just
call
use
doom
Insta.
scrolling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing they do on after waking up is checking their phones. I mean, that's just messed up. That just deteriorates the energy levels for the whole day. So yeah.
Yeah, and Mansi, the challenge here is the child, and you can come in on this and tell us whether parents have felt this. children seem to feel that they're going to be left out in this race of not having caught up enough or not keeping up with the current trends. So you talk about OTT platforms, you talk about this whole reel scenario. If you're not keeping up with it, you're going to be socially left isolated. Is that the next big challenge parents face then? How do you put that thought into their mind that you need to draw boundaries, establish boundaries, have only a certain hours of digital use in a day, when these are the other parallel challenges the child is coping with?
Absolutely. I think what we can do is make sure that when you are, like I spoke of the golden hour, when you are, and Saksham spoke of, the first thing they want to do in the morning is scroll. If you have your screen time played out from 8 a.m. or 7:45, because 8 a.m. they're actually reaching school, but not from 7 a.m. or 6:45 when they wake up, and you just explain the regulation part of it, that you don't need to check this first thing in the morning. And I feel the earlier you set these boundaries, if you're trying to do this in 10, 11, 12, it's going to be very hard. Grade 10, 11, 12, it's going to be very hard. It has to be started from the day that you hand over that device. Literally the day that you hand that device over, there needs to be like a contract or an MOU between a parent, because that's the only time that you're going to be in this position where you can explain and they will listen.
And
because
how can early on parents recognize that their child is not getting enough outdoor activity? Because sometimes that recognition, realization hits you later. It's too late by then.
Yes, absolutely. And I am not even going up to the age of 10, 11, grade 10, 11, 12. Parents have started realizing that the children are not playing outdoors when they can't start writing. So as early as kindergarten or pre-kindergarten, when they can't write, they're not being able to hold, grip. They can't do the pincer grip because they are not playing. They're not playing with clay, or they're not coloring, or they're not holding monkey bars, because this grip for us is so important that when that eye-hand coordination or the gross motor skills are never developed, and then obviously the fine motor is never developed, because they're not picking things up, they're swiping and scrolling. Like even the act of plucking a flower or plucking a leaf or playing with sand is developing their fine motor skills. But we see parents complaining of, my child is unable to write. That child is not unable to write. That child needs to play, because he's not using all the muscles that are there in his hands. In above grade 4, 5, 6, we see attention spans decrease, we see irritability, we see longer hours spent alone, we see a lot of sleep dysregulation amongst children. They don't want to get out of their rooms, they want to sleep for longer hours. They're seeing lack of vitamin D3 going down, and therefore wanting to sleep and stay indoors so it's all a vicious cycle. And again, what they want to do is their me time, break time, they want to cut off social connection. They don't want to go out with their friends. Now to me, these are all red flags. These are all red flags that I'm so sure that my child is not doing this. You are again seeing the symptom, but you're not seeing why this is happening. And I think at every stage, the symptoms look very, very different.
Okay. I'm going to bring in Saksham for a bit and ask him whether he's had these difficult conversations with his parents, for instance. A few years ago, maybe, Saksham, have you been caught in that spot? You've had to navigate that challenge, and how did you cope with it? So that it's a story that's relatable to everyone watching this, not just parents, but also children.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was like every other child. Like, I was using my phone every time, and my parents were like giving me lectures every time, like, why are you always on your phone? Why are you using your phone like 24 hours? So, but the difference was that I tried to include sports and any physical activity in my day, in my schedule, while using the screen. So the problem with today's generation is that they don't tend to include a sort of physical activity, be it anything. I mean, it can be yoga, it can be meditation, it can be running, it can be walking, anything. But they are missing out on that. So that's really adversely affecting their lifestyles.
Okay. And Shobha ji, once again zooming out a little bit, do you think in general outdoor play is being undervalued because there is so much focus on academics, and with academics now, because of the changing education scenario, we're seeing more gadgets being used, there's a lot of online communication, so one's really not left with an option? How much of a role do you think the academic context and what we're witnessing overall change in our surroundings is playing?
See, I would again like to come back that even in academics, I think there is a rat race that has started.
Yeah.
You would now see that, when the students were preparing for either the engineering or the medical, they would at least start from their class 11th grade. From 11th grade, it went down to 9th grade, and now you see that there are modules being created even for the 5th grade. That is one thing. The second thing is, somehow I feel it is not the peer pressure amongst the students, but the peer pressure amongst the parents to say that their children are ahead. Like when Saksham said that, his parents told him not to use the screen phone. The question I would like to pose is, at the first stage, who gave him the phone?
Yes, absolutely.
And did they stop using their phone? Did they limit their digital use?
So that's exactly what it is there. See, it is a necessary evil. The gadgets are there in our lives. We cannot get away with that. But I think what needs to be done is, what are the pros, what are the cons? As far as even the mobile gadgets are done, there are certain mobile games that are there, and you'll be surprised to know that in our classes, I'm a mathematics teacher, we try to find out the mathematics behind that game. So the games are also being used in an academic context. But that Absolutely. Is a connection, that is a boundary, that is a barrier that I think one needs to define it very, very properly. It's easier said than done. But I think, if every parent, every teacher, every educationist starts taking this step, because a child which is, who is till 9th, I feel, they are not very, very mature enough to understand what is right, what is wrong. It's only, once when they start coming to the 9th grade. So trying to explain them at that lower age, that this is not correct, maybe they will not understand. The students or the children may not understand. I think it's for us much more important, to explain it to the parents first.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Walk the talk. Walk the talk is what parents must do, and that's the only way of clearly communicating the intent behind asking them to stop, not be on your phones 24/7. I'm sure Saksham's parents are holding this conversation against us. So we're going to leave it at that. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Saksham, thank you for sharing your story. That's all the time we have for now.